Shipman, Virginia in Nelson County, and we're visiting Virginia Vinegar Works. I'm joined by Jay Rostow, the owner. And Jay, you and your wife started Virginia Vinegar Works how long ago?
Steph and I started about 7 years ago at our home, just as a hobby.
Now, what on earth gave you all the idea to start a vinegar company of all things?
We were at a farmer's market in Northern California shopping for some salad stuff one time, and we found these wonderful little bottles of olive oil that were a micro batch production by a number of the vendors at the farmer's market, and there was not a drop of vinegar to be seen.
Wow, I was going to say, what's been your growth in 7 years? How's your growth been?
It's been pretty good. We moved from our house to a place in Schuyler, and we outgrew that. Now we've moved to this place here in Shipman, and we're getting ready to outgrow this.
So let's talk about the process of making vinegar.
Okay.
I guess there's many different ways to do it, but you guys are a little bit unique in the way you do it. Can you walk us through the process?
Sure. We use an old-fashioned method that came out of 16th century France called the Orleans method. And basically what this is just an exposure of a alcohol-containing liquid to oxygen in the presence of what we use, the Acetobacter bacteria, to create our vinegar. And it's a long-term, continuous process, very similar to the process which one would use to make sourdough bread.
Okay. So a fermentation kind of process?
It's a conversion. It's
Okay.
a bacterial conversion. It's a sort of a secondary conversion to fermentation. Fermentation, where one is making beer or wine, uses sugar and yeast to create alcohol. And what we use is the Acetobacter bacteria to take alcohol and create acetic acid.
Okay. And I think most of us are very familiar with the apple cider vinegar that we find on most of the grocery store shelves. But yours is made from wine, and wine that was actually once in these barrels.
Yes.
Explain to us how that works.
Okay. We will source wine, which oftentimes is already going towards vinegar in the winery, and we'll take that wine and we'll run our vinegar conversion process on it. We use stainless vats to do our conversion in. We'll introduce the wine into the stainless vat, introduce some vinegar mother, which is basically unpasteurized vinegar from a previous batch, and we let it sit. Occasionally we'll remove the mother, which forms on top, and discard it. We don't want it to fall to the bottom or it'll start to decompose and actually rob the oxygen from the liquid that we're trying to get oxygen into. So that's part of our process. It takes about 2 to 3 months to create vinegar from an alcoholic solution.
Now, this alcoholic solution, you're not going out and buying barrels of Cabernet or anything like that that would normally be bottled for consumer use as wine.
Correct.
How do you get your wines?
We source a lot of wine through the wineries. We've developed some pretty good relationships with winemakers throughout the years. When we first came on to do vinegar, we had a little bit of a rough time breaking into the wine world. Not many people were very candid about the fact that they had wine that they weren't happy with. And when we went and asked about sourcing wine that they might not be willing to bottle, it took a while to develop those relationships. We've developed them, and now we source that wine from winemakers that generally have something that may already start to be going towards vinegar in the winery due to any number of circumstances.
Wow. So you're taking this wine that's already starting to turn towards vinegar, which is exactly what the winemakers don't want.
Exactly.
But you're able to harness that and take what they would probably regularly throw out.
Yes.
Or dispose of in some manner.
Yes.
And now you're making it into something that I've heard everyone say is really, really good vinegar.
Thank you, thank you. We're really proud of it. And I will say that you can't use a really bad wine to make a really good vinegar. So we have a pretty stiff criteria for what we accept as far as stock for what we're going to make into our vinegar product. And it's been a bit of a learning curve, learning what things that we can transcend in the vinegar making process and what things we can't. There are certain issues that accompany some wines that will not allow us to make a good vinegar out of that product.
Okay.
And
And did you learn all that just as you went?
yes,
Did you? Okay. A lot of trial and error over the last 7 years
bit of
to get to
pain.
where you
Yeah.
are. But it sounds like you're really on the ball because you've grown so much in such a short time. I mean, you're already at your basically third facility, and I think you mentioned to me earlier that you're really outgrowing this spot.
We are, and we've got a lot of product that we can work with. We're learning and doing different things with the product. We're getting into more and more supermarkets and specialty stores, so that's really helping us in our growth.
I wanted to ask you about the mother. I know a lot of people who are looking for home health remedies. A lot of places you read they want the mother in the vinegar because it has certain good bacteria or something. Can you explain to me what the mother is and if or how you guys use it in your vinegar?
Sure. What we refer to as the mother is a bacterial mat of cellulose which forms on top of vinegar. It's not really an essential part of the process. It's just proof that the process is happening underneath. I imagine it got the term in the first place because it's protecting what's underneath it from dust and bugs and other things getting actually into the liquid. We regularly take that mother off and discard it and compost it. It represents a barrier between the oxygen and the liquid, and we're trying to get the oxygen to the liquid to nourish the bacteria that are in the liquid so that they can continue on with the conversion. So the thicker that mother gets, the less oxygen we get into our liquid, and eventually it has to be removed. Or it'll fall and it'll start to decompose in the liquid and rob the oxygen that we're trying to get into the liquid in the first place.
So walk us through the process. Now, you said you put the wine into the vats to start the conversion.
Yes.
So where do the barrels, what comes next, and where do these barrels come into play?
What we do is we measure the acidity of the vinegar as it's rising. And when we get it to the acidity that we want it to be, we stop the process by excluding oxygen. Basically, that means that we take that vinegar and we put it into a barrel and seal it, fill the barrel up all the way, and eliminate the oxygen. That stops the bacteria in the liquid from doing any more conversion.
Okay.
Otherwise, you will get a very, very high acid vinegar on the finish.
Which is not really what you're looking for.
No, it's not. It's not. We're looking for a very delicate balance of acidity and fruit and flavor from the wines that we work with or the beers that we work with when we make our malt vinegar.
Okay. So the malt vinegar, I know you make a malt. We have here, and you use Star Hill.
Yes. We take Star Hill beer.
Which is Virginia beer
It's a Virginia
around
beer.
the Charlottesville area, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so what is the difference between this malt vinegar and then the red wine vinegar that you make from the wine?
Basically just the fact that it's made from a malt beverage instead of a wine. And the malt vinegars generally have a bit more residual sweetness to them. They're very good on fish and chips, which is a British term for potato fries. Malt vinegar is very good on any sort of potato fry, anything in the cabbage family, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, all very, very good. Grilled asparagus spears. It's sweeter, it's lighter bodied, it's not as acidic. We don't want to make it quite as acidic as our wine vinegars. And so it's a fun little product that, once again, is a winner for us and Star Hill.
How does your product differ from commercial products that we might find on the grocery store shelf?
Our product is done using the old-fashioned Orleans method, which comes out of 16th century France. It's an old-fashioned continuous method. It takes us about 2 to 3 months to make a batch of vinegar before it goes into aging. Commercial vinegar manufacturers use what's called a bubble column reactor, which is a piece of equipment that gets the job done in about 2 to 3 days. It yields a very acidic, sharp vinegar, and most of those vinegars, if you look on the label on the bottle, it will say diluted with water to such and such % acidity. And that's a bubble column.
Because it
vinegar.
is so acidic when the process is finished.
They have to dilute it.
And yours is not like that.
No.
Yours is a much sweeter.
It's sweeter, it's very much more full flavored, nicely colored.
Okay.
Very aromatic.
It's amazing. You've got so many different types of vinegar here, and you've also been experimenting a little bit more with other fruits, not just wine, because you have a raspberry.
We do. We've been.
And a nectarine. Is this?
Yeah.
Yes, this one's the nectarine.
Yeah.
So how did that come about?
That was sort of a bit of an accident, I think. The nectarine came first, and it was. We had bought a big box full of nectarines one time to do some canning with, and we brought them home, and we thought, wow, we're canning these nectarines away, and it looks like they're multiplying in the box, and we couldn't make them all go away. We thought, well, maybe we should make a nectarine vinegar, and it was delicious. So
wow.
It was just one of those very small batch things that we did at home, and
you were really pleased with it?
Really pleased with it.
See, again, it comes down to that trial and error, and you were willing to take that step and give it a shot. So what's next for you guys? It seems like you're constantly trying new things. Do you have something new on the horizon you can share with us, or?
Well, we just put out a sweet vinegar, which is the first one that we did. We made in a red wine base. So we took Cabernet Franc vinegar and we infused it with blackberries and we sweetened it a bit. And that's another collaboration that we did with Agriberry, and it's a new product for us. So that's going to be coming out very, very soon in mass. We've been asked about doing sweet vinegars and balsamics, and this is pretty much our approximation of a balsamic at first.
I want to talk about the care for the vinegar when you bring it home. Does it need any special treatment? Should it be refrigerated?
I don't think that the vinegar needs to be refrigerated as long as you use it in a fairly short period of time. The one thing that's an enemy to all foodstuffs is oxygen. So the more head space you have in the bottle, the quicker what's left in the bottle is going to change its flavor. Vinegar's not going to go bad. You're going to lose some of the fruitiness of it if you let it go more than 2 or 3 months in the bottle. So try to use it within that period of time.
Okay, so in a couple of months?
I'd say so, yeah.
Okay. Now, if people are looking for your product, where are some places they can find Virginia Vinegar Works?
We're in the Mid-Atlantic Whole Foods system, so you'll find us in a lot of the Whole Foods from DC to Virginia, up into Pennsylvania, Maryland area, gourmet shops, specialty food stores, health food stores, food co-ops. That's where you'll find us.
Okay. And you guys have a website. Can you share that with our viewers?
Yes, it's www.virginiavinegarworks.com.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much for taking your time and showing us around today. We really do appreciate it.
My pleasure, and thanks for coming to visit.
Absolutely.